Welcome to the TryPod special extravaganza edition because the NBA is tipping off this week. So I'm joined with a man you should all know by now. He's our resident NBA guru and legend amongst pod following and pod faithful. He's under pressure tonight because he's got to come up with something better than 250 to 1, which was only the highest odds team future that won in the history of US sports when he gave us the Kings to win the Pacific Division 12 months ago. So he's going to join me today to chop it up and talk all things NBA 23-24. How you doing, Tala?
Hey, great, man. Really happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Jacob. And shout out to all the TryPods out there. It's really good to be here.
Yeah, shoot your comments so if you can see us. So we're going to be live. So send in your thoughts, your bets, your questions. I'll tell you kind of what we're going to do. We're going to go division by division, talk about each of the teams. Is there going to be any surprises, any division bets we've got? Then we'll go some player awards. We'll talk a bit of in-season tournament and then the overall team futures as well. I know myself, I've got 9 official bets, all from kind of $6 to 30 to 1 range that I will be riding for this season that I'll share out why. And I haven't even chatted to Tala yet to hear his. I just want to say, first of all, see the Denver Nuggets, they are the NBA champions. Nobody listened to me, Tala. I said this team with Jokic and Murray could win it all. And people laughed at me and said they couldn't beat the LA teams. Now, in fairness, I did say this 3 years ago. So I was 3 years too early. I tipped them to win it in the bubble when the Nuggets really weren't on anyone's radar. Then they fell short. They lost in the West Finals that year. Then Murray missed the next 2 playoffs. When he finally got healthy, look what happened. They did go and win it all, and they are one of the big favorites to repeat this year. We'll talk all about that. Let's actually just jump straight into the East. And I've got the Atlantic up on the screen. So I'll throw to you, first of all, your thoughts on teams in this division. Boston are the $1.40 favorites to take it out.
Yeah, I like Boston here. You know, they've picked up Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, shipped out Time Lord and Marcus Smart. But I think really good regular season team, good on offense, good on defense. And, $1.38, I can't say that I'd be in any quick hurry to bet on it, but that's the team that I like. If I had to bet, I'd probably bet on the Sixers, but I don't have to bet. So, yeah. What do you reckon?
Boston, they are so stacked. I think Porzingis is the key because maybe the front court's a bit thin if he was to get injured, and he's had his fair share of injuries. He's just so big and tall. But if he plays, and the early returns look promising in the preseason, he plays up to his potential. This team's ridiculous, and the starting 5 is crazy. And yeah, they'll win this division. I mean, 76ers, you mentioned them they're a mess. Harden hasn't reported to training camp yet, to preseason training, right? They're trying to come up with a deal, but not sure who wants to trade for him. I would just want to talk about one other team in this division, though, the Nets. Feel like they could be frisky, and I think that their success of their season in terms of maybe making a playoff push could hinge on Australia's own Ben Simmons. He's looking good, like he's saying all the right things. If he was to get fit and push, like, I don't know, all-star contention, I'm a big fan of Mikal Bridges. I think he's the best player in New York. I feel like that team could be under the radar. What do you reckon?
I think I agree with you. Ben Simmons looks good. Compared to last season, he looked like completely washed. But now he looks like he can move. And, before he just couldn't move. But now he's, a couple of dunks here and there. He's getting by guys, that dribble penetration, getting into the paint and whatnot. But in terms of the makeup of that team, I think if you look at their record minus Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving last season, trash, rubbish. So if your best player is Mikal Bridges, and I'm a fan of him, or let's say it's Simmons, he's not going to be back to what he was before. But let's say you got 90% of what Ben Simmons is. It's like a 35-win team. So $31 is about right. If I think they should be winning 35 or 36 games, then like best case scenario, add 10, 46. What does 46 get you? That doesn't get you the win. And that's like that's a top tier result for that outfit. It's like above 500, 4 or 5 games above 500, as constructed presently. If they've got, I don't know what moves they can make really. Like they don't, I don't think they're very good. But if you like them, like
I guess it's the youth there. Like Simmons, if he can get back, I know that's a big if, but Mikal Bridges could get even better. Obviously, getting such a bigger role in this team, and Johnson as well. I don't think they can win the division, but I thought maybe make a playoff push. Let's move to the Central Division, where we've got an even shorter favorite. It's the Bucks, $1.15, and this is on the back of the blockbuster summer trade, although they would have been short favorites in this division regardless. But of course, they're the new home of Dame Lillard as well.
And it's hard to say. Like it's hard to bet against them, but if there's a bet there, I like the Cavs out of these two, just for the reason that I think they had the best defense in the regular season last year, just in terms of their defensive rating, so points conceded per 100 possessions, which is pretty good. If you're playing good defense every game, that's going to put you in most of the games, and it can lead you to a pretty good record, really. Bucks $1.15. I couldn't go back in them at that price. Like, I think depth could be an issue. If you consider that they got rid of Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen, so then who's really playing? Like Middleton's coming back off injury. Giannis is always solid. Brook Lopez, like that's a really good interior. I really like that. But Dame's getting on a little bit. I think this could be either amazing and that $1.15 is justified, or something goes a bit wrong, and then they get into the playoffs anyway, right? But they don't get in with, say, 55 wins. They get in with high 40s, something like that.
Yeah, I could see along the same lines. And for what it's worth, I'm putting up the odds for the division as we go, just as a way of getting through the teams. But it's not really about trying to find a division bet, especially when you've got a prohibitive favorite in some of these. Feel free to kind of share any thoughts you have on any of the teams in these divisions. You might like a team over, under. You can kind of take it any direction you like. I also agree the Bucks might take a little bit of time to peak. On top of that, it's a new and a first-year head coach, Adrian Griffin. You think that they'd take a step back defensively because while you gain Dame, you lose Drew, right? So in terms of perimeter defense, of course, that's a negative, but you're going to send so much offensively. And for them, it's all about success in the playoffs. You're going to win a bunch of regular season games, but it's not going to be the only focus. It's going to be about peaking at the end of the year. So I'm with you that I wouldn't be backing them heavily in kind of regular season markets, but they've got a hell of a high ceiling there with Dame and what that might unlock for Giannis offensively.
How do you like the name? Freak Time. That's the new
Freak Time. I haven't heard that one yet.
Like Dame Time, but it's the Greek Freak and Freak Time.
That could grow on me. I've got the Cavs next to I do really like as well. And they ended last year with a real bitter taste in the mouth, exiting in the first round of the playoffs when they had home court and they were favored over the Knicks. But for me, it comes back to their core. Mobley, another year development. Same for Garland. Mitchell just is second year at the club. I think the Cavs are going to be a really good regular season team again. I don't see the Bulls as any threat, and clearly like the division odds, but I don't even think the Bulls are going to be making a run. I feel like DeMar's a year older. Levine is just not a bona fide superstar. In fact, I could see trade potential there. You got any thoughts on anyone else in the Central Division?
I'm actually on the Cavs over 50.5 wins. Now, they've added another player, Max Strus, solid role player from the Heat. Now, the key issue that I saw with them last year was, Garland and Mitchell were pretty good, solid. Jared Allen and Mobley were good, anchored the defense, but their wing play was pretty poor. So Okoro couldn't hit anything. Like that guy couldn't hit. And then they had LeVert. He sort of didn't play much defense. So it was really bad. But Strus is solid in a way that, he'll hit shots and he can probably defend someone. So I think that boosts their offense a lot, and it doesn't really take away from their defense. So, yeah, the more I look at that $3.65 number, I'm like talking myself into it, like because I am already on the over 50.5 wins, which is a lot, but the defense is good. And, maybe 50 and 51 wins is enough to take it. Just depends.
That's it. If you're going to be in the 50s, you will be in the mix to win that division. I think that's pretty realistic there. I want to find the Southeast, which would be the third and final division in the East, and this one's a little bit more competitive, but you've still got an odds-on favourite. That is the Miami Heat, who are the reigning East champions. What do you make of this one?
I think this division is wide open, and I had a few bets on the Hornets. I wouldn't recommend to bet on the Hornets now. One of their guys is probably going to go to jail. Miles Bridges, good player, but he had some off-court issues. So, I think this division's really wide open, and the reason I was keen to bet on the Hornets was they had a few guys coming back, but also the Heat, they're the favourites, but they've done nothing. Not only have they done nothing really of note in terms of bringing players in, they've lost key players in terms of Gabe Vincent. It's like a good point guard, sometimes spot starter. And Max Strus, he went to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So they positioned themselves to get Damian Lillard and then didn't get him. So what are you left with? Lowry, washed. Butler, pretty good, but he normally turns it up in the playoffs. It's like, really awesome player. You could argue top 10 in the league, but is he really going to play top 10 for 82 games? I doubt it. So then you're left with Bam, who's like an 82-game guy. And what else? Hero, maybe. Like it doesn't look like a team that's, I don't know, that looks like a 40-something win team to me. What do you reckon?
I agree. They would position themselves to get Dame. They didn't get him. You lose those key guards. I guess the counter argument would be that Hero didn't play any part really in that playoff run last year. So you bring him back in. So it's kind of like an addition. I'm wondering if they can get more from Duncan Robinson, who was nearly completely washed, and he's pretty well paid to be just collecting dust on the bench. He kind of showed flashes in the playoffs. Jovic, I think, could get an expanded role, maybe cover some of that guard play. Moving beyond the Heat in the Southeast, I look at Atlanta. I've just got question marks. It's the backcourt. I mean, you could probably say the same about the Cavs. Is it the perfect fit, Garland, Mitchell? In this case, Young and Murray. I don't know if it works, but how many more games will they give them before they may look at a trade? I feel like it's the right time to maybe trade DeJounte Murray because I think he's going to be due for an extension at the end of the year. And I don't know if the Hawks can afford to pay him or if it makes sense and whether they just want to make it Trae Young's team. The side I want to talk about and the team that I think is one to watch this year and will be really fun is the Magic. The new home of Joe Ingles, but also world champion Franz Wagner. Who saw that coming with Germany winning the world champs? Of course, you've got Carter. You've got Rookie of the Year, Banchero. You picked twice in the top 11 as well, the Magic. I saw there in the comments Ryan's with me, Magic at 11. So that's going to be my first long shot tip. So on 365, you can take Magic at $11 to win the division. Tala, you said it there. The Heat, just another side that's going to coast in the regular season. Atlanta, question marks for me. Orlando, there's the upside there. So I would take the $11 to win the Southeast because I think younger teams tend to play harder in the regular season too. And I've got an even longer shot as well. I'm going to take a flyer at $29 on Mosley for Coach of the Year. It's also on 365. He came in last year. I can't remember the exact record, but they were like 4-20 the first kind of quarter of the season. He's nearly about to lose his job. From that point, they actually had a winning record. You could see the development there. And so I think if he can lead the Orlando, I don't see why they can't continue to play above 500 basketball. I think the narrative will actually piggyback off last year about how much they turned it around. And a team that was relatively new coach, new regime that hasn't had success for a long time. I just think there's a narrative there that gives you a decent chance and is a pretty fun bet at $29. Am I crazy? Are you seeing anything there with the Magic? I mean, the reality is maybe they're another year away, but it's sometimes fun to get on these up-and-coming teams if it is the year that it pops, like your Sacramento tip last year.
Yeah, like I don't mind that at all. I don't hate it. I think the division is wide open. Like I don't look at the Heat and the Hawks and think, oh man, whereas if you look at the Bucks and the Cavs, you look at them and you can really pinpoint that these teams have like real definite strengths that they can lean on in the regular season, whereas these two are like, I don't know, like the Hawks are like the NB. This is mediocrity, just like average, win, lose, 41 wins. It's probably not enough to win it. But yeah, the Magic, especially that Mosley, what's that? 30 teams in the league and he's paying, he couldn't be worse he couldn't be any worse. Like they've got that upward mobility because their team was pretty bad last year. Let's say they come in and win 42, and then they're the 8th seed. That could be. I've actually looked into the coach of the year, how it's decided before, and that's sometimes the coach. It goes to that kind of coach. Other times it just goes to the coach that just 65 wins, big win percentage. It's either that or a team that sucked and then they became good. So it's generally one of those two. That's who it goes to in terms of the winner. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, if they're 1 in 11 chance to win the division, I mean, if they do win this division, he's going to be right there on the podium for coach of the year. So that's another way to, small stake at $29, I reckon.
It's probably the one I'd lean to of those two bets. It's a pretty good bet.
Yeah, that is a good point. Sometimes you actually better off playing the even longer odds because you could actually come second in the division but still win a lot of games and he could still have a case. Now, the Pacific Division came up on the screen, but I want to save that one till last. Let me see if I can find the Nuggets Division, which is the Northwest. Sorry, guys. I can't see my graphics before they come up, but here they are. The Nuggets, who are the defending champions, in case anyone needed reminding, are $1.22 favorites in this division, Tala.
Yeah, Nuggets. Nuggets. I can't say anything about the Nuggets. They're all that, and they're all that in a bag of chips. They're a good team based around Jokic. They lost Bruce Brown, which is their sixth man, which isn't amazing. It would have been better just to keep him, but I don't know. Maybe they couldn't come to terms. So that's the way that goes. But they're the team to beat, and the odds reflect that.
Anyone else you like in the Northwest, though?
Timberwolves, maybe not for a bit. No, not really. The Nuggets are that good, I think.
Yeah, no. Of course, Bruce Brown was important, but Christian Brown was such a good draft pick. He's going to get that role pretty much in his second year. It's the same core team. Otherwise, that is the team to beat in the West. Clearly, I guess it's always tougher when you're the hunted, not the hunters. And I think that Denver are another side that could coast through the regular season. I mean, you've seen how much fun the Joker's had in his off season. You know what I mean? They'll take time to play himself into shape, but they've got such a strong home advantage, and with the altitude that they seem to always have a good regular season record. But I wouldn't back Denver for a regular season bet. Like, I wouldn't necessarily play them wins total over, or or take the real shorts about the division, because I think there is a couple of other live chances. And I just want to say the West is absolutely stacked. So you're going to need to win quite a lot of games to get into the playoffs. But there's two clear playoff contenders in this division. I guess, in my eyes, Minnesota, for the main reason that Anthony Edwards could be one of the best 10 players in the league easily, in my opinion, this season. We kind of saw what he was doing. He was basically the alpha on Team USA, although they did lose in the semis there. He had a hell of a tournament and clearly is on that trajectory and looks like a superstar. You've got Towns. He's a bit of a character, a funny player to judge in terms of how great he really is and whether he's the right fit on this team. And there is a playing style issue there with Towns and Gobert, but there's still a lot of ability there. And I feel like they probably should have made the playoffs last year. Just all went off the rails right before the play-in tournament, and they still nearly had the Lakers beat in a single elimination game.
I think the Timberwolves they matched up with the Nuggets first. That was the first round.
Oh, you're right.
I'm not wrong. Yeah. And they were competitive. They were okay. They weren't terrible. They were
That's right. I think they did lose to the Lakers in the first. Sorry, that was the 8-9 game.
But then they had a second life.
Yes, and then basically, sorry, what I meant to say was, as soon as they lost that game and they drew the Nuggets, that I felt like that was their elimination from the playoffs. Because if you could have got to the 7 seed, you could have got I think it was Memphis. I think it was more possible to advance there. So you're right. So people, this team is on their steady improve on the back of Edwards. But the side I would want to talk about and look at that could have a really fun year is OKC. And again, you got an Aussie that's leading the way there, but SGA too was getting MVP votes last year. First team All NBA. I think Giddey, of course, he'll be even better. Then you add Chet, who was the second pick in the draft last year, but didn't play the whole season. You got both Williams there, so you're young side, you got depth, and it's probably similar to Orlando. Maybe I'm getting on a year too early. This isn't the year that Oklahoma's going to challenge for the title, but they're stacked to the gills with draft assets. I just think you don't need to underperform and try and get a slightly better draft pick this year. I feel like you can just go all in. Let's see what we're really made of. Let's see what we can do, what we might be missing, and let's get some big game experience, because that's going to help these young stars develop, because you're going to have to figure out who's worthy of max contracts and all the rest, and how to actually use all that draft capital, because they've got a ridiculous amount by virtue of several trades that own other teams' picks. Some of them are going to be really great picks. But I think the team right now is another one of these young, frisky sides that is going to win a lot of regular season games. I would play them. I think, again, 365 best odds, 750 to win the Northwest. I would have a go at that, because I don't know if Denver is going to be highly motivated in the regular season. Any thoughts on OKC?
Man, I actually, now you come to think of it, just in a general sense, are they going to go, chips in? Are they going to really push in and make a push? Because if we look at the teams that have actually won it over the last few years, so who won it last year? The Nuggets. Year before that was the Warriors. Year before that was the Bucks. Year before that was the Lakers. Year before that was the Raptors. How many of them have followed the path of just sucking for a long time, resting guys, playing for picks? Those 5 teams did it. Unless I'm, because it was Kawhi. Anyway, they made moves to strengthen their team and played to win. I think if you play to lose or don't, play to go as far as you can every time, it becomes something that becomes in the players. It's like a culture. It's a culture of just being like, oh, yeah, we're in the NBA. The team's in the NBA. Let's see what happens. So if you take too long, you're going to miss opportunities to develop, and you're going to miss opportunities to be like, look back on it and be like, oh, man, we had 5 years of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and we didn't even try to win. That's rubbish. So I hope they do. If they really push and try to win as many games as they can, there's some factors I like about the Thunder. SGA, maybe top 10 player in the league. Plus, they've got great depth when you really look at it. Great young depth as well. Like, really good team. Like they had to waive players that were like lottery picks in the preseason, because that's how many players they had to develop. Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
What a disaster that Paul George trade is looking like for the Clippers, because you'd rather have SGA straight up, and they've got all those Clippers picks as well. And another clue that OKC could be in for a good year. We talked before, and definitely like Mosley's chances at 29-1 for Coach of the Year, but Mark Daigneault is the favorite for Coach of the Year. He's between $8 and $9 and every bookie. And he's another second-year coach. So when you got a coach who's clear favorite for Coach of the Year, that's a clue that a lot of people could see OKC making the jump this year. Big losing record last year, but that allowed them to get yet another high pick. And obviously they coasted and they shut players down like Giddy. But as we both agree, like if they go for it, the other thing about backing this team is they're going to be a fun team to watch and a fun team to cheer for. So again, I do like 750 about the division, and I'm actually going to include them in my custom multi that we're going to share a little bit later. Now, Southwest Division, where Memphis are the $2.40 favorites. This is a pretty wide open division. It's worth mentioning. You can start with Memphis and take us wherever else in the division, Tala, but of course, first 25 games, they'll be without Ja Morant.
So I saw this funny meme, and it had a picture of Ja Morant and Marcus Smart and Jaren Jackson Jr., and it said, who can stop this team? And it said, IG Live. Someone in the comments, and I was laughing, but I think there's like real key issues around Ja, not his performance on the court, it's fine, but then what he does after the games and what he does just around town and how he carries himself and behaves, it's not befitting of a superstar or just a general person. Like some of the things that have been reported are just not good, not a good guy. So there's that. Steven Adams, he's also been ruled out for the season. That's a key piece, especially in the defense with Jaren Jackson. if he was healthy and Jar was out for 25, I'd be pretty happy to back them anyway. But because he's out now as well, it just more questions than answers. Yeah, so I don't really like the Grizzlies. Mavericks, I like. Luka, I'm on Luka for MVP just because I think he's going to put up numbers and good player. And Pelicans. I'm also on a smoky for Zion for MVP, but I got him $50-something to one just because he hasn't shown an ability to stay on the court, but when he does play, he plays at that level. That's the type of performance that he can give, plus, highlights and this and that, and then those sort of things add to the actual winning of basketball games.
Of course, he's got that upside, Zion, but can he get it together? He's another guy that's kind of got off-court issues and maybe a work ethic issue. I don't know. There were stories leaked out of the Grizzlies organization, and you kind of wonder, why is that information kind of leaving those four walls unless they're so frustrated with Zion that they're just publicly shaming it? So you're right, there's high upside there, but there's also a big downside as well. So, I mean, I do love Ingram, Herb Jones. I don't know about McCollum, like how elite he still is. I just think that's a high variance team. And again, when I stand back and look at, oh yeah, they'll make the playoffs. Like, wait till we get to the Pacific Division next. Right? When you look at the West and say who'll make the playoffs, you're going to get way beyond 8 teams. So the fact is they're not all going to make it. I think that the Pelicans could easily miss. And you will see that I'll be shorting the Pelicans when I share my custom future. Back to the top of the division, you mentioned Adams out for the season, right? But Brandon Clark could be as well. That was such a big loss. He tore his Achilles in March, right? So I think that's a huge loss. And I know the team has a winning record without Ja, but Tyus Jones is gone too. And he did so well filling in there. So although, of course, they've signed Smart. I love Bane and Triple J and Ja when he's on. But again, you said that's a question mark. So I don't like Memphis too much. I do favor Dallas. I'm with you. And for what it's worth, Luka, I think that's a great pick. I think I picked him MVP probably a couple of years ago. And I feel like he's due. Like, he will come up, and it will be the year that he just puts it all together. And he was in great shape at the World Championships, for what it's worth, for Slovenia. Can it work with Kyrie? I tend to think it can. So I do quite like Dallas in this division. But I reckon I've saved the best division till last. Ryan says, appreciate the comments coming through. Ryan says, Zion MVP worth a shot. It's more a bet on games played. Well, he's got to play the full season. He's got to be fit. And Hamish says, yep.
The Pelicans were, I believe they were top of the West before Zion went out. First or second, they were like, they were winning maybe 2 games for every game that they lost. They were going at that kind of a clip.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of it hinges on him. Like, if you look at the numbers, he can drive their offense, to a top 10 offense just by having him on the court. With point Zion, or they run him off the ball. Anything where he plays, it really helps their team to win. It's really meaningful. Maybe not defensively, but offensively for sure. That's why, it's more a bet on games played to me. If he plays 60 or 70 games, I'm happy to say, he'll be like all NBA for sure. I'd bet on that. Like, if I could get a Zion.
You know what else? The other way to bet on Zion is most improved. It could kind of be a bounce back year. And I think you could still find him in kind of 40s, 50s range for that. So when you got a wide range of outcomes, you don't mind taking that kind of long shot, especially, again, a lot of these futures that we might share. If you got a bonus bet burning a hole in your pocket, these are great ways to kind of play some long odds. And speaking of long odds, I think I've saved the best division till last. Pacific Division, where we have all 5 of the teams who made the playoffs last year. And speaking of last year, we got to relive that tip one more time.
I see that being a top 10, maybe even a top 5 offense, okay, like in terms of points per 100 possessions. So they could score a lot of points, okay. What odds are you seeing for the Kings, Jacob?
200 to 1.
200 to 1. Yeah, I think that's worth a very small bet.
So 200 to 1, even 250 people found the Kings, and they had it wrapped up with a couple weeks to go, mate. That was a legendary tip. You can talk about the Kings, of course, how you see them this year. Phoenix are the ones who are $2.40 favourites. They made some big moves this offseason as well.
Yeah, so the Kings, man, they were pretty good last season. I don't know their expected wins from their plus minus, but they won the division, and they also had really good health. Okay, so compared to all the other teams, I don't have the stat on me, but they barely missed any from their really key players. Whereas when they were playing up against their opponents of their top 5, they were usually missing 1 or 2 players. So. Yeah, like that was probably as good as it could have gone for them. And what did they get? 47 wins, 48, something like that. And then that was good enough for them to get it. But yeah, in terms of the Suns, Beal on deck. They got rid of Chris Paul, got rid of Ayton, brought in Nurkic, Beal, and Booker, KD. I don't know who's starting in the wing for them. Yeah, I'm not too sure who their 5th guy is, but
Torrey
maybe
Craig.
they'll close with Eric Gordon. I like the Eric Gordon pickup. I like that. But yeah, pretty good team. But this division, man, this division's pretty nuts because you could make a case for any one of these teams winning it and stand on that and be pretty, feel pretty happy with it. Like you could find, 5 or 10 reasons to back any one of these teams. So at those odds, I'd be looking more towards the Clippers. That was your pick for the championship last year, wasn't it, Jacob?
That's
Clippers?
right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind $7 for the Clippers. Yeah,
you've got all 5 teams in this division are favoured to make the playoffs, which is pretty crazy. And it means they're all going to have a tough schedule. Where do we start? So Kings, you're right. They won 48 games last year. I think their over-under's 48.5. And you kind of think, well, they won that many last year. And they're relatively young core. But as you said, and I think Ryan says it went perfect. Everything went right from last year, funnily enough, until the playoffs, where they flamed out. Well, not completely flamed out. Played the Warriors to 7 games, but it was disappointing. Lost a couple really tight ones. Lose game 7 at home. But I mentioned injuries because Sabonis was hurt in the playoffs. He was not the same player in the playoffs as he was in the regular season. So you don't want to picture Sacramento as the team that you saw out in the first round last year. They're going to be better if Sabonis is healthy again. The rest of the core's young. Fox can get better. Murray. But I think the other point you made, there's so many other clubs in the West just had a down year last year, just perfectly opened the door for Sacramento. And they're not going to sneak up on so many teams this year either. So it's hard to really see them repeating. Sometimes you just kind of catch lightning in a bottle, and it was Light the Beam, and it was an awesome story, and it was amazing that you tipped it. But I think that they'll struggle.
I think, when you're betting on something at 200 to 1 or 50 to 1 or 100 to 1, you're needing like a lot of things to line up and go right, just right for you. Whereas if you back the Celtics at $1.22 or whatever, $5, you just need things not to be disastrous. All right. So it's like a little bit of a mindset switch, but also the Kings, like they might have the best offense in basketball again. They were the number 1 offense last year. So that's going to carry you to some wins. They picked up this guy, Vezenkov from the EuroLeague. Good player, automatic, like really quick, like a stretch 4. Who else did they get? JaVale McGee. So those are their 2 notable additions. They probably helped them a little bit, I guess. But yeah, other than that, running back the same team, they're all right.
I'm looking at the top of this division in terms of the favourites for this season, the Suns. They're $2.40, and I do feel like their time is now. I will always back a KD team, and I would say he's still in his prime, but he would know as well as anyone as he's at the very back end of his prime. So if he's going to win another championship, and to him, he really wants one that's not kind of under the shadow of the Warriors and Steph Curry that he won, of course, a couple alongside. Booker is as good as he's ever going to be. I feel like he's right in the middle of his prime and can be awesome this year. And then you got Brad Beal, a guy who's been in trade rumors for like 7 years, was always discussed as the guy that could move from a middling team and push another side over the top by giving them another star. We almost got sick of talking about it, but I think people forget what a bad team Washington were generally, and how talented Beal could be, and what a complementary piece he really could be on this side. My biggest question mark for Phoenix would be, did they get enough for Ayton? It doesn't feel like it in terms of now you're downgrading to Nurkic, but I think it was a fit. It was a personality issue there. That they had to make the move for their culture, and they wanted to do it pre-season. I will say straight off the bat, second favourites in this division are the Warriors, who, of course, won not last season, the year before. I don't love them because I feel like that brand, you're going to pay a premium to back the Warriors because a lot of people do love them. Steph is Steph, sure. He's not getting any better, but he's probably like KD, still in the back end of his prime, still can light up the league. But I just feel the rest of the supporting cast, Clay, Draymond, and obviously Chris Paul, none of these guys are as good as their best years. Can Wiggins elevate the team again? I would look elsewhere. You've got the Lakers who made the Western Conference Finals last year. And you could make an argument they were the second best team in the league in a way because they probably were more competitive with Denver than Miami was. Although they didn't win a game in that series, like people who saw them, 3 of the 4 were highly competitive. And then when you get to the finals, you realize how dominant Denver was. So Lakers were not disgraced by playing pretty tight ball with Denver in the West Finals. LeBron still has a chance to add a ring as if he's not the best player on the team, at least one of the best 2 players. AD was unreal early season. You got Reeves emerged, and then they were able to lock him under contract. I don't know. I guess it just comes down to probably the health of the front court because of LeBron's age and because of AD's injury history. And then talking about injury history, yes, I admit it. I liked the Clippers last year. They've burned me multiple times. But, man, they had the Suns nervous in that first round series, and Paul George wasn't playing. And then if that wasn't bad enough, Kawhi got injured a game or 2 later as well. So, it's always PG or Kawhi. Last playoffs, it was both of them out. That's always the thing with this team. I don't know how many more chances I want to give them. None of my 9 bets that I'm sharing tonight are going to involve the Clippers, but I'll certainly keep my eye on them and I won't write them off. Have they got a move to make? They are rumored to be in the Harden stakes. So do they kind of do a Terrence Manford Harden, but does Harden solve anything on this team?
I'm not too sure, but that in the year 2017, we got James Harden, Kawhi, PG, and Russell Westbrook. You'd be laughing. That team would win a million games. But it's not. It's 2023, 2024. If they pick up Harden, I don't know what that does for them, really. But they have the guy, and I still believe in Kawhi, to be honest. That's a guy that, we're going to win a 7-game series. You tell me that he's going to play in 7 of them, I'm taking that guy. I'm taking him over almost...
He was going head-to-head with KD in the playoffs last year until he hurt his knee.
Exactly. But the bet here that I'm on is Lakers under 48.5 wins. Now, they finished the season really strong. They made a couple of nice moves, but for the most part, over the last 4 seasons, 3 of those 4 seasons, they played to the under. So I just think that number's a little high, and it's based on how they finished last year, do you think that they can do that over 82? I don't. I'd be surprised if, AD and LeBron play 130 games combined, right? I'd be surprised if they play that many. And without those guys, those 2 guys, I don't like the team. Austin Reeves, to me, is probably one of the most overrated players in the NBA. He was underrated. Now he played okay for the Lakers, and he's talked about an all-star. But you take him out of that, you put him on the Magic. What are the Magic? The Magic are the same, and no one knows who he is. He is all of a sudden, I don't know, Admiral Schofield. He's just some guy. Do you know what I mean? But people know who he is because he plays with LeBron on the Lakers. That's why he's thought of and held in such high esteem. But it's not really, it doesn't reflect his performance, his play. D'Angelo Russell played out of the series against the Nuggets, so there's that. Vanderbilt, good role player, can't shoot. So if LeBron and AD miss time, the team sucks. And I think it's quite likely that they miss time. Therefore, I'm on the under 48.5. I think it's probably 4 or 5.
Makes a lot of sense. And it's a team that a successful season for them could still be winning mid-40s games, but getting themselves into the playoffs and being healthy at that time and managing minutes.
Similar
and having
to what
a fresh AD. Exactly.
Mid-40s, made a run late.
They know the formula.
And then, boom, they had their guys right when it was time. And then they just sort of couldn't quite get a result in some of those Nuggets games, which was, just how it goes sometimes.
And thanks again to everyone shooting comments in, Daft previews, ads with Austin Reeves. overrated for real, exposed in the FIBA game. So he really didn't do much, on that stage where you would have expected the way that he was being talked up. He did get a big contract, although some argue could have got a bigger contract elsewhere if other teams had gone to try and outbid the Lakers. So the Lakers were pretty happy to
the
grab
Lakers
him.
did good business wrapping him up. Like, that's a great contract that they did. But yeah.
Right, because if they lost him, because they're over the cap, they couldn't have replaced him. Ryan says, give me a healthy Kawhi over everyone except Jokic. Bill likes Bones Highland, sixth man, $151 off the bench for the Clippers. Jeff says, Denver goes back-to-back, simple as that. And Daft Previews, I think referring to the Suns, says, this is the first year after so many changes. It'll be tough to have everyone on the same page. There'll be adjustment periods, playoff contender, but will be inconsistent through the year. Let's actually hear from someone else. We've got our show sponsor, Top Sport. Tristan's given us market insights ahead of the season.
Tristan Merlihan here from Top Sport, and we're very close to the NBA season starting, so very excited for that. There's obviously been a lot of happening in the off-season, as there always is, which has seen a bit of a shift in the market. Milwaukee's come into favourites, obviously, on the back of that monster trade. So they've been the best supported to win the championship and the divisions. We've also got the MVP up as normal, and Luka Doncic has been best back with us, $7.06, but by far and away the best back competitor in that. Just having a look at the regular season wins markets, probably the two biggest moves there have been Boston on the overs. That line's moved 2 games, 53.5 out to 55.5. And the other other team that's seen a little bit of movement is Miami, which has gone from 48.5 down to 46.5 and heavily juiced towards the unders. So they've been the best two backsides since we released those markets. We've obviously got all the other options in there, the make or miss the playoffs, the play-in tournament as well, the in-season tournament, which is going to add a little bit of excitement throughout the season. It's a tricky one to price because you've got to look at timing and all that side of it. So we've got a very, very open field in that one. It's going to be a really tricky one to sort of keep that one going as we get closer to that kicking off. Thanks for everyone submitting all their markets. I've got them all up on site now, so obviously jump on board, see if there's any other ones there that you like, and appreciate everyone getting involved. Good luck if you're having a bet to start the season off, and keep an eye on our same game multi. We're going to be rolling out something for all the US sports probably just into the new calendar year. We're working very, very hard on that, which will be something once we get through spring, it'll be full focus at our end. So good luck, punters, and gamble responsibly, of course.
So there's Ryan's on Wemby, block leader at $23. You're going to get a chance to talk about Wemby. Don't worry. Tala, I know that you'd love to chat about him. We'll talk Rookie of the Year. But I guess that point down Ryan's bet, there's so many ways to bet NBA. Like, you can bet on every statistic, every team performance, whether it is in their division or conference, overall championship, wins, miss playoffs. Specifically, you can bet on a team to make the play-in, which means they would finish 7th to 10th. And what we're actually going to talk about next is none of that. It's the in-season tournament, which is a brand new addition. Like, what a crazy year we've got ahead. I'm so excited for this season. And I, for one, am really excited and am a fan. And I'll put this odds up. A moment ago, I had the actual outright championship odds. But here are the in-season tournament odds. Just your thoughts. Tala, I don't know if you would back anyone in this, or just what do you reckon about this whole tournament? It's going to be wild, single elimination games if you make the final 8.
I think, and when I was really looking at it and thinking about it, I think it'll be business as usual for most of these teams until they make the knockout portion of it. So in terms of a bet, I looked a little bit longer. So I actually backed the Hornets because I just thought they'd have Miles Bridges and LaMelo back, so they might be able to win a few games early season and then sneak in there. And then you just have to win a game. Like, then it just becomes, we have to win a game. And if you look at what the teams are incentivized to do, I think it's $1 million per player. So it's really not like, what's $1 million to Giannis? He's already got 30-something for playing this year. It's nothing much. You know what I mean? Yeah, I just thought it'll be entertaining for sure, especially when you get to the later games. But the initial ones, from a betting perspective, I just thought, well, what more are these teams going to put into this Monday game at Orlando that they're not going to put into the Tuesday game at Atlanta? Like, it's all the same to me. That's what it seems like to me anyway. I think there are some ramifications maybe in the bargaining because they're all televised games, right? So they have to. There's a certain amount of players that they can and can't rest, so that could have some implication in those games. So you might see teams' best lineups on the floor for these games, but other than that, yeah. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's super exciting. I think there will actually be a buzz around the tournament, which will mean the games do mean a little bit more. But you're right. Like the reason that the favorites are, the Bucks are $9, so are the Celtics $9.50, Suns 10, right? As opposed to for the championship, those sides are closer to half those odds. It's because it's a lot more wide open because of motivation. Do these sides care that much? You're right. The best paid players, they're not doing it for the prize money. But mind you, the role players and overall the franchise might still be motivated. There's something to be said for winning the first ever. I don't know if NBA Cup is going to stick. Some will call it the NBA Cup, but also the in-season tournament.
Plus, if you consider the championship, you have to win 4 games out of 7, 4 times in a row. So that weeds out not the bad teams, but the teams that are lesser. Whereas this, you have to win, I think it's, what are there, 4 pools or 6 pools of 5, is it? 6 pools of 5, top of each pool goes through and a wild card, something like that. So you don't have to win as many games. You have to win maybe.
That's right. You get to the final
7
8
games all up to win it. You have to win 7 basketball.
You're going to play. You're going to play 4 games. 4 games in your pool of 5, and they are kind of seeded, right? The big teams are all separate
That's right.
pools. Basically, you got to top your pool, although a wild card gets in. Realistically, you're going to have to win at least 3 of the 4 games. At least, maybe win 4 of them. How much teams try? I think at least as much as a regular season game, if not a bit harder, because it would be kind of fun to be in the tournament. Then you get through to call it the quarterfinals. That still counts for NBA standings. So the quarterfinals and the semifinals, the only game that doesn't count is the final itself. So everyone who doesn't make it still carries on playing. So you might as well be playing for higher stakes. But you're right, of course, the reason these odds are all higher for the better teams is because anything can happen in any given night because it is single elimination. It's like March Madness as opposed to best of 7 series with home court and the rest of it. So I'm with you. I think a longer shot is the play. And I do have one here. I'm going to go the Cavs. So 12 or 13 they are on the screen there, but $15 I found about them on Dabble, and I've bet that already, and you can copy that. And I think, again, you want to take a good regular season team because they're more likely to be in form in December and winning regular season games. Specifically, their bracket's got the 76ers, and who the hell knows what kind of basketball the 76ers are going to be playing. They could still be working things out, whether that's with or without Harden. I don't see Atlanta as a huge threat, so I kind of feel like the Cavs can win 3 or 4 of those pool games, get themselves into the final 8. And I like the idea when you talk about motivation, what does Giannis care about winning this thing, right? Well, a team like the Cavs, who realistically aren't winning the championship this year, maybe they're more motivated because this is the only thing they can win this year. So along the lines of you talking about taking a long shot, that was my play, was Cleveland at $15. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. That type of thing makes a lot of sense to me. Like you look at stuff like English soccer, the FA Cup, or not the Premier League. The best team's going to go for that and win it. But once you're knocked out of that, well, maybe we can win, something, the Europa Cup, or the FA Cup, or one of these other competitions, and just like hold that up for the fans and hold that up for ourselves that we're good players and a good team. So yeah, I like that.
And maybe not the best example because I think Man City won them all last year, but generally you get cup sets, right? You do get teams middle of the road that can make an FA Cup final, whereas you much more rarely get that happening in the Premier League. That's over 38 games. So exactly right. Anyone can get hot in this type of sport, and there's so many variables that I know that the best teams are going to look enticing at those relative odds, but there is a reason for it. Okay, but I was overall so excited about the tournament because I do feel like the season does drag a little bit. Like you get hyped for the start, you get your futures, but you want to see how everyone looks, you want to see how teams are playing. But then we're through the first 6 weeks and we're into December. And I don't know, people start talking about maybe who's going to make the All-Star game in Jan, and then you really don't care too much. And then it's playoff positioning, right? In like March, fighting for playoff spots, and then it's all about the playoffs. So I feel like December, give us something else to play for. Even people who roll their eyes and say, "What's the point? Who cares?" when it's a knockout game and it's a single elimination, you're going to be watching and it's going to be fun. So I'm here for it. I want to move now to player awards, Tala. So again, just share any thoughts you got. It doesn't have to be a bet. Just maybe who you would take in that market. If you don't have a bet, I've just got to kind of click on a lot of graphics and hope that I find the right one. But I want to begin. You can lead us off anyway. Any thoughts you've got on defensive player of the year?
I think I did like Jaren Jackson until I heard about the Steven Adams injury, and then just became a bit like up in the air. You could look at a guy like Giannis, Brook Lopez. That defense has been pretty good. Like that is a winning formula, those two together, and he's quite impactful, has good numbers, and he's an amazing player. So where's Giannis? $9? I mean, yeah. Jaren Jackson, I think could be all right. I'm not too sure, really.
Jaren Jackson Jr. is the reigning defensive player. And he is the favourite at 650. Wemby is interesting at 15 there, along the lines of Ryan saying getting him at blocks leader. I don't know how good the Spurs will be. I feel like people do look at metrics of how good a team is defensively for you to win Defensive Player of the Year. I don't have a bet in this market, so I won't spend too long on it. But Mobley, third in betting last year, getting better every season. And he is there at second favourite, 675. He would be the way I might look. And speaking of Wemby, I'll now give you the floor to just talk about him because I know he's your pick in Rookie of the Year. $1.58 favourite he is there, which is kind of disappointing because when we were talking about this show, what night are we going to do it? Right, we'll do it Monday night. And on Friday, you said to me, Wemby at $2 for Rookie of the Year is the best bet on the board right now. Just not possible to share that now. It's 40 cents lower, although I think you can still find maybe $1.75 on Dabble. But how good of a bet is this? Like, how confident are you that Wemby is going to be head and shoulders Rookie of the Year?
I think at that $2 price, I'm really happy to bet a lot on it. All right. Even though you're going to have to wait for a long time, he impacts the game on both ends of the floor. So that's one part of it. He has a lot of hype. So NBA, if he does anything good, they show it, right? People vote on this award. The third factor that I really looked into, of the past 15 winners of the Rookie of the Year, only 4 have made the playoffs, and only 3 of them had a positive plus minus. So that's not necessarily the main factor about whether he's going to win it or not. It just probably helps if the team's good, which I don't think the team will be good, but I think he'll be amazing. I suppose just go and watch his highlights versus the Golden State Warriors. Like maybe one day ago, in about 90 seconds, he blocked Wiggins.
Here's the thing, man. Everybody did watch that. And that's why his odds are so much shorter, unfortunately.
I don't see the other candidates being able to put together those kind of striking plays. Along with the numbers, I could easily see him averaging like 20 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. That's like, a mid-tier sort of result. He could go even bigger than that. He's quite talented. Amazing player. The only thing that I'm really, would be sort of concerned about would be any sort of injury troubles, but he seems to have gotten through preseason pretty well. So, $2 for Wemby. If you can get it, take it.
First of all, $1.75 is the best I can see about him now. And then I think he's crunching in. And I think he was already about even money coming into the year. Everyone saw what he did in preseason and all the reasons you discussed. Is just thinking this guy is just so good, and he's not even in the discussion with other rookies. He's in the discussion for best player in the league already, potentially. That's all remains to be seen. But we have seen nothing like this guy. So just in terms of just being a basketball fan, it's phenomenal to watch. Of course, what you said there about only 4 of the last 14 Rookie of the Years have made the playoffs. The best players are drafted at the top of the draft. They're going to the worst teams. So, of course, there's that the best players are usually on the worst teams that don't usually win a lot of games. But it is a good point that you make, though, because the voters don't penalize Rookie of the Year so much for not having team success. It's much more about the individual because they understand that. So it is much more about just individually, did you have a great season, as opposed to MVP or something. Your team really had to have success or will be held against you. But you said you're a little bit worried about injury. Now we're talking some player rewards, so I think it's really poignant to make this point that this is the first year they've got the eligibility criteria, and this is meant to combat resting, that you must play 65 games to be
65.
eligible for these awards. Yes.
That's more than before, right?
Well, there was no official threshold before, but now there is, right? Now, I'm sure the Spurs would love him to win this award. If he gets one injury that he loses a quarter of the season, he can't, right? But the bigger issue is if he gets any niggling injuries, they're going to be cautious because this is a guy that sets your franchise up for the next 15 years, right? You're not going to push him too hard. You're going to have extended, layoff or whatever for minor injuries. And this is where I couldn't take $2 or below myself because I just think you're actually betting on does Wemby play 65 at that point. So that's kind of what the bet is, I think. I think if he plays 65 or more, he probably should be like $1.10 in that range because he's that good.
I think there's lots of reasons for him to play as well. So you don't develop watching. Like you can only watch so much film or watch guys play basketball. But to actually...
For sure. But the thing is, nobody plays 82 games. Everybody gets a rest here and there. So even the busiest players still play like low 70s. So I just feel like then you take one injury that takes him out for a week or two here or there. That's the risk that you do run. Chet is going to join a really good team, but that may help him because he'll have team success, but it may hurt him in terms of role. I am going to share a tip here, and I have shared a tip the last 3 seasons, and I've won twice, not taking the short favourites either. And I wish I took the favourite last year because I was that close to just taking Paolo, and I would have won 3 years in a row because he won it pretty resoundingly. Who did I go last year? I went Keegan Murray with yourself. And he had a strong year. The previous 2 years, I did have LaMelo in 2021. I did tip Scotty Barnes in 22 as well, 15-1. This year, I am going Scoot Henderson. $5.50 he is on Sportsbet. So you can see even on Toppy, he's crunched into 410, but $5.50 on Sporties, playing for the Blazers, of course, and they've traded Dame and they've cleared the way and they've traded Drew. He's going to have the keys. He's going to have the opportunity, and that's what it's all about. And I think a combination of Scoot, who playing hard, that's what he's all about. That's his brand. And Wemby, just any sort of hiccups through the year, that's the recipe to win that, which I think is a decent shot. Definitely not a better chance than Tala's tip, but just at those odds, that's the way I would play it. Let's move to MVP. You said Jokic, right? Sorry, you said Doncic. And he is the second favorite. Jokic is the favorite for $30. Doncic $6. Just anything more you've got on this market?
No, I like Luka. I think I took a little bit better price than that, but you shop around, you might get a better price. Just a really strong player. Before this, I was with Embiid for 2 years. Then I jumped off Embiid and got onto Jokic. So I was with him a bit early, but I really like I really like Luka here. Yeah.
For me, when I try and bet the MVP, and I had Embiid last year, which was awesome, but I kind of do it by process of elimination. So I know everyone loves the Joker, but again, I think he's going to cruise through the year, and he set the bar so high for himself. He has to kind of at least match that, if not go even better, to win it a third MVP. Plus, I feel like people didn't realize how good Jamal Murray was before. Now you've seen him thrive in the finals, in the playoffs. So people can't think of Denver as a one-man team. Giannis might be the best player in the league, if not Joker, but he does have high-profile help. You just got Dame. Can you win MVP? He certainly has a chance. It wouldn't be my bet. I think there's almost no way that Embiid wins it again. I feel like he's completely on the nose with everyone after winning the award somewhat controversially in terms of a lot of people didn't like his case and his candidacy, and then kind of flaming out in the playoffs yet again. And people think like they were duped. And then Joker excels in the playoffs, and everyone kind of said retroactively Joker should have won it.
Gone 3 in
whether
a row.
That's right or wrong. Yeah, but it's a regular season award. So I just think Embiid got it. And part of the reason people voted for him was because he'd never won it before. But to get it back-to-back, I think no way. And that's coming from me, who made the case from last year. I can't see KD winning it because he's like a 1A to Booker 1B. So now I've narrowed it down in terms of all the players that are in the top 5 or 6 favorites to Luka and Tatum. I think it comes down to, Boston's going to win more games than Dallas. Boston will get the wins. They'll be either first or second in the conference. Luka will have the better stats, but Tatum has like better teammates that will get him further. And I think the voters will lean to wins over stats. And Tatum will still have great stats as well. He's 25 years old. I feel like he salvaged things last year after choking in the Philly series. He just, that fourth quarter in Game 6 turned things around. Yes, Boston did lose to an 8 seed in Game 7, but even there, Tatum got injured in the first quarter of Game 7. It could have been different. So it wasn't a bad year for Boston, and there's so many reasons why they can go a lot better this year. I like Tatum. $9 you see on the screen at Toppy, and $9.50 the highest I've seen, 365. I've got a custom play to show as well. Actually, I'll share that at the end. Let's just keep cruising through the conference bets, Tala. So who's your pick to come out of the East?
I like the Bucks. What are they paying?
The Bucks, I think, are about there's basically like a 2-horse race here. So the Bucks are $2.50 on Toppy.
Yeah, I like the Bucks, not necessarily as a bet, but that's a team that I like. But just quickly on Tatum, you're right about the wins. So I've looked into this one as well. The team with the MVP has to win about 60% of their games. Like anything less than that, I think there was Westbrook once for the OKC.
Right.
Pretty bad. But his performance was amazing. So yeah, that's touch and go with Luka. But whereas the Celtics, you can say, oh yeah, the wins part of that will be solid, and he'll have good numbers. But if the wins are good, like if they're comparable between Dallas and the Celtics, Luka's going to be attributed much more of the credit for that, because the Celtics, to me, are a much better team all around. As well as Tatum being an amazing player. You take Tatum out, they're probably no good. But you take Luka from Dallas, and they're the Houston Rockets.
Bottom 3 in the league. Yeah. Totally agree. And I'll go against you in the East. Clearly, there's, 2 teams are head and shoulders above the rest, but I'll take Boston. I don't love the short price. They're $2.40 and Bucks $2.50, but a little bit more on that soon. What about the West? Who are you picking to come out?
No, this one's tougher. Like if you said pick the East, I'd go Boston or the Bucks. Like I might wake up tomorrow and say Celtics. I might wake up the next day and say the Bucks. Like it's one of those two. This one, I can't really. Nuggets. Like I'll just stay with the Nuggets. So I already saw them win 16 games out of whatever they needed to win just before. Great home court advantage. It's built around an amazing player that lifts the rest of his teammates. They did lose their 6-man, Bruce Brown, who made great contributions, but the Nuggets. I'm going with the Nuggets.
And they are 335 favorites, but I will go Phoenix, even though I'm repping my Nuggets jersey and stoked to be the current NBA champs, but just think it's their time. You get a full preseason with KD. You got Beal in there. You got aggressive ownership that's all about win now. You got Vogel, who knows how to get it done at that level. 420 on Toppy, which is the best odds for Phoenix. And I would play that. I think that any team that's got a healthy KD, Booker, Beal is going to be so hard to guard for a 7-game series. I feel like it could be their time. Let's move to...
Do you remember they did beat the Nuggets twice, right? Twice.
In the playoffs? They beat them in game 3 and 4, yeah.
Like some of the best possible shooting games of that playoffs just to win twice.
That's right.
Now, they got rid of Ayton for Nurkic, which I think is probably a downgrade. They got rid of Paul and brought in Beal, which is probably an upgrade. But like their wing play, they still didn't really address what the 5th guy on the court's doing. The 5th guy on the court is doing a whole lot of... Do you know what I mean? And it didn't work out for them. So that's what I'm looking at. Oh, yeah. So Beal and KD were going off. They were doing their thing. So I think a lot of it rests on Beal's shoulders. Like that's how I see it. And I mean,
yeah, and I think he hasn't played on a team that's played meaningful basketball for a long time. So I think we're going to find out. We're going to find the answer to that. But I still think that
at the price, you think that those questions, it's worth it. It's worth finding out. I
do because I've always been a fan of Booker, Durant, and Beal, and you put them all together. I'm excited. My finals then is Celtics Suns. Yours is Bucks Nuggets. Who are you picking for the championship? If I put you on the spot right now,
give me the Bucks. I like that.
Okay, so the Bucks, who are $4 on Toppy, they are the favorites. I'm going to go the Celtics. If it's Celtics Suns, I will take the Celtics. What have you got there? Is that some Giannis memorabilia?
Giannis.
I can't quite make it out. What was that? Like a frame? A
It's
photo
one of those.
frame? Or is it
It's,
like
I don't know. My son got it. He just handed it to me.
Yeah.
It's like one of those.
Oh, mad.
Those toys.
I am taking Celtics and 550 on better. If you think about that, right, 550 for the Celtics, I think is outstanding because we just saw they were $2.40 to win the East. You're getting more than double the odds to win the championship when I think there's a fair likelihood that the Celtics would be favourites in the finals and could very well have home court if they make it. Understandably, and Tristan said it, that the minute that Dame got traded, they took money on Milwaukee. Milwaukee are the favourites for the title, right? But those dominoes of Dame going to Milwaukee have turned out really well for Boston because it suddenly killed Miami, who thought they were getting Dame and who made the finals last year. And it set off a series of events where Drew Holiday went to Portland and now to Boston. And while I said before, Milwaukee gets incrementally better because of Dame's offense, you got worse in defense. Boston got better everywhere. They got Porzingis. Yes, you lost Marcus Smart, but you got Drew Holiday and Derek White. That backcourt's as defensively sound as they've ever been. And then you kept Jaylen Brown, and I've just made the case for Tatum MVP. So again, the coaching situation was a mess last year. Missoula, the last minute, first year coaching with barely any supporting staff. They're much more organized, plus the experience he gained. I love 550 about the Celtics for the championship. I'm going to put a summary of the 9 tips I've shared so far. Tala, you rack your brain if there's any other tips you want to share to our followers tonight. And I actually have not shared all 9 yet because I haven't shared my custom bet, but that will be up on the screen. So let me go through these bets. I said play Orlando, $11 to win the Southeast Division. I like OKC at $7.50 to win the Northeast Division. I like the Cavs at $15 to win. It says their NBA Cup, which is the wording on Dabble, another word for in-season tournament. I'm going Scoot for MVP at $5.50. Scoot for Rookie of the Year. Tatum for MVP at $9.50. My custom bet is jammed there in the middle of the screen. So I've got 2 teams that I really like that you've heard me talk up. Thunder Magic both make the playoff, right? The up-and-coming new kids on the block in the East and the West. And then I've got to pick a team to miss the playoffs in each of those conferences. I've gone Bulls and Pelicans to miss. So you got those 4 legs, $16, and that's available on Toppy. If you need a Top Sport account, the code is TryPod, and you can have up to 40 on that, which means risk 40 to win 600. And I think you get some fun teams to cheer on through the year to make the playoffs and a couple less fun teams to cheer against. You just heard me say Suns to win the West at $4.20, Celtics to win the title at $5.50, and my super long shot down the bottom, Mosley, Coach of the Year, $29. Tala, anything else from you?
You might have talked me into the Celtics, man. But that's I like Luka for MVP. I like
you like Wemby?
Wemby for Rookie of the Year. And the Lakers under 48.5 wins. I really like that bet. Nothing at amazing odds, but the more I think about it in terms of like if I was to pick a smoky, a team that flamed out in the playoffs but was really had a really solid defense and is really well built around that, it is the Cavaliers. It would be the Cavaliers to just come in and just grind out a few series. And because they have made that adjustment where their 5th guy is a good shooter, so Strus has to be defended in playoff games. And yeah, Dan Barney makes the point, Tatum collapses too much in the big spot, 3 duds for every big performance. Like when I look at the Celtics, the word that comes to my mind is fraudulent. Fraudulent because they show something so dominant for regular seasons over the past 5 years. And then when it came down to a time that really mattered to win, they went down 3-0 to the Heat. How about the time that the Heat beat them in the bubble and Bam swatted Tatum? I remember that. These are the vivid moments that are coming to my mind. I can look at the numbers and it would tell me something, but what I saw was they don't want it. No, not they don't want it, but they don't. There's something that champions are really made of. And I didn't
I know what you mean when the lights are brightest. Although Barney having a go at Tatum, it doesn't scare me too much. I'm sorry, I'm going to say something really mean, but like I've seen Barney slander Steph Curry over and over, and then he went and won a fifth? No, how many rings has Steph got now? A fourth straight ring. 15 months ago, and then he was slandering Pat Mahomes, and he's already won his second Super Bowl. Nathan Cleary was the latest that Barney was just tearing new one and can't win in the big games. Cleary goes all right, seems to go all right in big games actually. So if Barney doesn't believe in Tatum, I'm still going to feel pretty comfortable about my chances there. Sorry, Barn Dog. We do love you though. We do appreciate your contribution, and of course, Tala yourself, mate, to give up your time tonight. I can see you got family going on in the background. You've given us your valuable time. So I really appreciate it, man. And some of the best bets that you're going to find throughout an NBA season might not be preseason. They might just come up. Storylines changed, narratives change, and we learn things as we go. So keep an eye on the group because I'm sure Tala will share anything he's really liking through the year. Hope you enjoyed the season, mate, and best of luck for the punts that you've been on. And once again, thanks very much for joining me tonight, mate, as well as everyone else who joined us live. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. See you later, guys.
Cheers, guys. Enjoy the season. Look, we covered a heap tonight, but there were so many other markets that we didn't even get to that, as I said before, different ways you can attack the NBA season. So if there's anything else you're backing or you want to talk to us about, hit us up in the comments in the group or, wherever you find this video. Enjoy the NBA season, guys. Have a great summer. Lego.